Okay, so we're ready for our next presentation here. This is WheelPad. What's next in tiny accessibility? Which I think is pretty exciting. Pop-up accessibility. And our two presenters are Libby Smith, a designer in the field of interior architecture, and Neil Joseph, experience in engineering solutions, sourcing, inventing, patents, product development. Sounds like a long list. Yeah. So gather around and I'm going to hand it over to which one of you would like to start?
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me? Is it working? Yeah. Okay. Okay, great. I'm Libby, and I had the pleasure of working with WheelPad this past summer. I'm an interior architecture student, working on my master's at the Rhode Island School of Design, and as a summer intern with WheelPad.
My name is Neil Joseph. I'm working with WheelPad also as head of operations. My background is in heavy manufacturing.
All right, so what is WheelPad? WheelPad is a wheelchair accessible bedroom and bathroom. It is immediately available. It attaches to your family home. So you just roll it right up and they build a connector from the WheelPad to your house through a porch or a side door, even a window, which makes a home that may not be accessible for a family member immediately accessible, and it includes that family member in the home life. So our goal is to keep families together, to promote independence by healing at home. Closer. There it is. I was thinking it wasn't working so well. All right, so we are working to keep families together, promote independence. We have the space that exceeds ADA requirements, so we're not just hitting the minimums, going above and beyond that. And a really special feature of the WheelPad is the Hoyer lift system, which enables users to have these transfers from the bedroom to the bathroom without having to make a wheelchair transfer. We have a little video for you guys.
Is a provide a temporary addition to a home that's fully accessible so that patients with mobility issues can be at home sooner and not have to wait for modifications to the house that might be necessary.
We've had a lot of interest, but people don't know how it works. One of the best things about the WheelPad is actually that you don't know how it's going to work because it's not going to work the same for everybody. I just think it's so versatile that people can make it work for them in all different kinds of ways.
The WheelPads have been designed with healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, and we really listen to them for the best arrangement of windows, light, air, high ceilings, lots of space. We wheeled this in here in one day, and we made the connection, which includes a porch, in about 7 working days. The first feature is just a ramp. It's the new front door of the house. So here we are at the front door of the WheelPad. We took some visual cues. Notice these 3 mullions are replicated with these 3. Basically, this is the new front entrance, and welcome to the WheelPad. We have a connector right here from the house to the new WheelPad. And the connector is finished with these wonderful birch veneer walls. Essentially, you are looking at a fully weatherized connector.
What his home is when it's delivered to the site and when you see people using it, seeing them living their daily lives how they would in their normal circumstances and seeing them heal.
One of the most useful features of the WheelPad is the idea of an integral hoist track so that folks can come from the bed to the bathroom and not have to go through that whole complicated process of a transfer.
Certainly it's been wonderful being back home. The access to my family, my pets, my friends, my gardens, being back here,
story of Riley. So Julia and Joseph, pictured here, are the main team behind Limesync Architecture. They're a husband-wife pair, and they've been in business since the 80s doing architecture in southern Vermont. But their godson, Riley Poor, when he was 26, he had just been offered sort of his dream job with Nike, and he was covering an event at Mount Snow and had a tragic accident that left him as a quadriplegic. And he worked with Nike and went out to the West Coast and continued this dream and started his job. And however, he was living in a hotel because he couldn't find any accessible housing. And the Nike van would come and pick him up and drop him off, and it was really hard for him socially, and just making this transition without a home and without family. And so Julie and Joseph, were kind of at a loss for what they could do, and eventually came up, to Riley and said, what if you had this option of having this space added onto your parents' home where you could have healed and gone through this transition? And he said that would have been brilliant. I would have loved that. And so pictured here, Riley actually has this amazing story of he had started seeing this acupuncturist to deal with pain management, and 9 months in, his acupuncturist said, Riley, I can't be your physician anymore. And he was like, oh, well, that's awful. Can you tell me why? And she said, because I've fallen in love with you. And so they live together currently. And so this is sort of a little bit of Riley's story and the inspiration behind WheelPath. This is you. You gotta really
Hi there. So, WheelPad, the first WheelPad was built for us at Norwich University. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you kind of pick me.
Sorry, all right, I'll eat it slowly. So, Norwich University agreed to have their architectural and engineering students help with the prototype. Joseph did the initial design, but Norwich certainly came up with their share of ideas as well. It was built, we covered the materials, there were grants from several different organizations that would help us get the prototype built. And the prototype deal we made is it would continue to be loaned out for free. It was given to the first patient who has since passed away, and it's been refurbished and redeployed in Wilmington, Vermont, to someone else who was in need of it. The WheelPad, the roof, floor, and each wall are each made out of one SIP panel. That is, nothing's wrong. It's a solid piece with just holes cut for doors and windows and so forth. As such, it's extremely tight, without any air leaks, and they're very high RO, higher than obviously stick built. So I'm not quite sure what to tell you. That's pretty good. Let's see. This thing next slide? So this continues to show the construction at Norwich. I think they literally just had a wheelchair under the spinning around footprint that could actually fit, which of course it did. And again, you can see if you haven't already taken the tour what it looks like inside. This one was occupied. The model out there doesn't have a table, but a drop-down table that can be added.
I have a little more information on some of the so the design of the bathroom with this galvanized steel, the space behind that allows water to dry and prevents moisture from building up so that you're not having any moisture issues in the home. And the steel is locally produced in Pennsylvania. And the epoxy flooring in the bathroom is also applied locally from Laticrete. And the wood flooring is local oak, sourced from Massachusetts. The walls are finished with 2 coats of thinset without any paint for non-toxic application, and the ceiling is made of locally sourced pine, naturally finished with a salt-based fire treatment to prevent flammability. And the natural wood helps to absorb air pollutants.
These wooden decorative pieces you see on the walls are there also to keep it from being marred by the wheelchair. I guess the wheel pad comes on wheels, as you can see right here. All the trailers arriving from the manufacturer for us to put wheel pads on, and then the sips are placed on those next, and then they seal. There's the option also of just undoing about 6 bolts, and it can be craned up and put onto a foundation as well if that's more appropriate for your situation.
Yeah. So the design of the wheel pad is made so that it can slide off of the trailer, and you can build. They'll install these helical piers, so they drill these holes into the ground and fill them with concrete, and then the wheel pad can be strapped onto that, and it meets zoning requirements for a foundation. So if you live in a place where zoning requires that any accessory dwelling unit be built on a foundation for hurricane safety, we can meet those requirements.
So this shows, let's see, is that well, this is the building of the connector. Yes, this is so when you buy the wheel pad, since it's meant to be an adjunct to the house, using the house's utilities, you obviously need a breezeway of some sort to connect it so you can get through to the two. Again, just more fix and finishes. This one was another one built by Norwich for us. It actually was serendipitous. They called us and said that someone had contracted to build something larger than a wheel pad, but then backed out. They said, we have this box, you want it. And this particular gentleman with ALS, a veteran in Jericho, Vermont, didn't like the original wheel pad. It was too narrow, so there wasn't enough room in the bed for he and his wife, so he wanted a larger unit. And so we finished out the box that Norwich had and installed it, put it on the helical piers that you mentioned. And I guess the Veterans Administration, who covered this because he was a veteran, said it was the first time that any of the 10,000 people with ALS on their list actually got into their refitted living unit before passing away, because this is so fast compared to what you need to do to retrofit a house.
Yeah, yeah. And this has become the Wheelpad XL model, and is in the line of Wheelpad products. So then, here, wait, let's go back one more. Oh no, there was one in between? No? Okay. So, I wanted to touch a bit, before we got to this, there was one slide there, where did it go? Was it this one? Where, this summer while I was at Lansing, Cynthia Painmeyer, who had been in the original Freebies wheel pad, passed away, and someone in the community in Wilmington had a tragic motorcycle accident, and their family and somebody reached out and said, hey, why don't we get a wheel pad so that when you come home from the hospital, you have this space. And we were able to get it installed, I think in a matter of 3 days. And it was there waiting for him when he got home, and that will be theirs as long as they need it on the free lease. So that was a pretty special experience to have this summer. This interesting site that you see is actually faculty housing in Rindge, New Hampshire. So they had used Lansing architecture before to develop accessible dormitories for their students at the school. And they have a lot of students with special needs, and they wanted to create faculty housing that was also equally as accessible as the student housing. And Joseph came up with this concept for what they're calling the trio, where it's 3 wheel pads arranged around a central building and placed on a foundation. And every wheel pad has its own private kitchenette area, and then beyond that there's a central communal living space. And so you have this nice balance of public and private within that faculty housing. And it's, you know, it's a beautiful space whether you need accessible housing or not. And that has segued into, another concept that Joseph has come up with for workforce housing, where he's speaking with several companies. I think Airbnb is one of them that's interested in the idea of creating a vertical structure that you would insert wheel pads into for accessible workforce housing, which I think is a concept a lot of people are really interested in and doing in other fashions outside of wheel pads. And yeah, that is the story of WheelPad. Any questions?
Yes, we answered it.
Have any brochures?
Oh yeah, we sure do. Also, I forgot to mention, so one of my primary tasks this summer working with WheelPad was collaborating on a design for an accessible tiny house. So not one that would need the utilities or function of the main house, that you could live independently in a home with a kitchenette that's accessible and mobile and could be rapidly deployed like the WheelPad. So stay tuned for that. Those designs are being reviewed by the manufacturer.
Amazingly, there isn't one in the market.
So how does pricing work?
Yeah.
This is $65,000, the regular wheel pad unit. Handicap accessible, and we don't need it. $65,000, and then you need to connect it to your house. So there's a breezeway, there's a patio, I guess porch and ramp, and then the plumbing, water, sewer have to be hooked up to the house as well.
Yes.
And do you guys help with that?
Oh, yes.
Information?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so we will work with
Zoning.
your contractor, or send, if you're local, send someone out there. Also, one of the projects in the works is a value engineered wheel pad that takes some of these, little more fancier elements of the wheel pad and pairs them back to create a more cost-effective model. But we're working on negotiating how much of the aesthetic can be negotiated. So yeah, working on making it beautiful and affordable brand.
So it has a kitchen and a bathroom?
No.
This wheel pad is just,
Yeah.
yeah. Here, I think on our
We're
very
sending the
first.
patient is doing the cooking.
This is the basic floor plan of the wheel pad. There's one out in the Tiny House Village if you want to go see it.
The bathroom, this would be the breezeway to the house, and this would be to
The double door
Porch.
here, yeah.
the ramp.
Yeah. But there has been a lot of ask for a tiny house with a kitchen, so we are working on that, and it's pretty exciting.
So you said it can be delivered in the last 3 days.
Yeah, well, we were able to do it in 3 days this summer because the one on the free lease was nearby. But yeah, it can be rapidly deployed, and then the install with the plumbing and all of those connections and building the connector takes about a week.
And then there's permitting issues. There are some towns that don't allow this, but I have Newton, Mass, and one other town, when they heard what it was for, changed their zoning to allow for this. Not a tiny house, but for this situation.
Yeah, so the folks at WheelPad are happy to work with clients on doing zoning research and contacting the town and contacting neighborhood boards and associations and sort of doing a lot of that legwork and support.
So say you have an application where somebody has an existing structure they can no longer live in, and that trio idea, like, because there is probably water as part of that, but then wanting more light. And, so I'm wondering, and I guess what you're saying, we would work with this person.
Yeah, is the building a place they can no longer live because it's not not accessible or because the building is deteriorating?
Well, both.
Uh,
Although I don't know how bad, I haven't really looked through the building, but we now talk about tearing down the building.
In which case you could buy 2 wheel pads and just connect them to the kitchen in one.
Yeah, and that could be done.
Definitely be done.
Any idea what, has that been done, like what the total?
2, there's been 3 in the roof over. I don't know if you guys know. But it would be the cost of the 2. You need a well, you need a power source, and drop utilities to it. But these are 65 a piece, and obviously putting a kitchen in there, there's the cost of the kitchen. Anybody else?
Okay,
Going?
thank you. We have some information up here, and you're asking how it's going.